Let's be honest, folks, the idea of true freedom is about as real as a unicorn riding a Roomba through a drive-through. Because the truth is, we're swimming in a sea of systems, all designed to nudge us, steer us, and occasionally shove us headfirst into making choices that benefit, well, someone else. The real kicker? We're often completely oblivious. We think we're calling the shots, living our best lives, when in reality we're basically puppets dancing to a tune we didn't even realize was playing. But here's the good news. Ignorance might be bliss, but knowledge is power. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to expose the puppet masters and their intricate web of control.
Let's start with the obvious, shall we? The news? That daily dose of doom and gloom that we pretend keeps us informed. But here's the thing about information. It's rarely neutral. News outlets, those bastions of objectivity, often serve up narratives that are about as balanced as a toddler on a unicycle. They cherry-pick stories, sprinkle in some expert opinions that just so happen to align with their agenda, and voila! You're suddenly terrified of immigrants, convinced the economy is on the brink of collapse, and absolutely certain that pineapple on pizza is an unforgivable sin. And don't even get me started on entertainment media. Those heartwarming sitcoms and action-packed blockbusters? They're not just mindless entertainment. They're stealthily reinforcing societal norms, whispering in your ear who to root for, who to hate, and what a normal life should look like. It's like subliminal messaging, but with better production values. The point is, media shapes our perceptions of the world without us even realizing it. Let's talk about fear, shall we? That delightful little emotion that makes you check under your bed for monsters and invest in a lifetime supply of hand sanitizer. It's also a tool, my friends, and a damn effective one at that. When you're scared, you're more likely to accept anything that promises security, even if it means sacrificing freedom. Think about it. How many times have you heard a news story about a horrific crime, followed by calls for increased surveillance and stricter laws? It's enough to make you want to build a bunker in your backyard. But fear is often disproportionate to the actual threat. The media thrives on fear-mongering. They bombard us with worst-case scenarios, making us believe danger lurks around every corner. And you know what? It works.
Now let's talk about something near and dear to all of our hearts: shopping. That's right, folks, consumerism. That magical system that convinces you that happiness can be found at the bottom of a shopping cart. Because apparently, true fulfillment comes from owning the latest iPhone, rocking that designer handbag, and basically turning your life into a carefully curated Instagram feed. And who can blame us, really? We're constantly bombarded with advertising, those insidious little messages that worm their way into our brains and whisper sweet nothings about how our lives would be infinitely better if we just bought that new car or booked that exotic vacation. But here's the rub: consumerism thrives on creating artificial desires. It convinces us that we need things we didn't even know existed a week ago. Suddenly, we're not just buying a product, we're buying an identity, a lifestyle, a sense of belonging. Let's be brutally honest, shall we? We're all a bit insecure. Every single one of us has something we're self-conscious about, something we wish we could change. And you know what? Marketers know it too. In fact, they've built an entire industry on exploiting our insecurities for profit. Think about it. How many times have you seen an ad that preyed on your deepest fears and insecurities? That wrinkle cream that promises to turn back the hands of time. That protein shake that guarantees you'll finally achieve that elusive six-pack. That dating app that swears it'll find you your soulmate. These ads don't just sell products. They sell solutions to problems you didn't even know you had. They tap into our deepest desires to be loved, accepted, and admired, convincing us that the key to happiness lies in purchasing the right product. It's a brilliant, albeit incredibly cynical strategy that keeps us trapped in a perpetual cycle of wanting more, buying more, and never quite feeling good enough.
The education system. That hallowed institution designed to mold young minds into productive members of society. Sounds great in theory, right? But in reality, many education systems are more concerned with churning out obedient workers than fostering critical thinkers. We're taught to memorize facts, follow rules, and conform to the status quo. Step out of line, question authority, or, God forbid, think for yourself. Well, then you're just being difficult, This emphasis on standardized testing and rote learning stifles creativity, discourages independent thought, and basically turns education into a giant, soul-crushing conformity machine. Is it any wonder that so many people graduate feeling disillusioned, disengaged, and woefully unprepared to critically analyze the world around them? Let's talk about history, shall we? That grand narrative of our past that shapes our understanding of the present and influences our vision of the future. Except, here's the thing about history. It's written by the victors. Curriculums are carefully curated to emphasize certain events while conveniently omitting others. We celebrate the heroes, demonize the villains, and gloss over the messy, uncomfortable truths that challenge the dominant narrative. This selective storytelling isn't just about simplifying complex issues. It's about shaping our collective memory and influencing our understanding of power dynamics. By controlling the narrative of the past, those in power can control the narrative of the present. It's like playing a game of telephone on a societal scale, with each retelling further distorting the truth until we're left with a sanitized, oversimplified version of events that serves the interests of those in charge.
Okay, folks, time to get a little paranoid. Let's talk about surveillance. Remember when privacy was considered a fundamental right? Yeah, me neither. These days, we're living in a digital panopticon, where every click, every like, every Google search is tracked, analyzed, and used to build a disturbingly accurate profile of who we are, what we want, and how we spend our money. Governments and corporations are collecting vast amounts of data on us, ostensibly to keep us safe and provide us with personalized experiences. But let's be real, folks. This isn't about safety or convenience. It's about control. The more they know about us, the easier it is to predict and manipulate our behavior. And here's the really insidious part. We've become so accustomed to being watched that we barely even notice it anymore. Remember when the idea of facial recognition technology seemed like something out of a dystopian sci-fi novel? Now, it's just another feature on your smartphone. We've traded our privacy for convenience, our freedom for the illusion of security. We've become so desensitized to the constant intrusion that we barely bat an eye when asked to hand over our personal information, scan our fingerprints, or allow our faces to be stored in a database. We tell ourselves it's no big deal, that we've got nothing to hide. But the erosion of privacy is rarely about hiding something. It's about protecting something far more fundamental: our autonomy, our freedom of thought, our right to exist without being constantly monitored and analyzed.
Politics. That glorious blood sport where we pit ourselves against each other in a never-ending battle for, well, it's not always clear what we're fighting for, is it? See, the political system, in all its dysfunctional glory, thrives on division. It's a tale as old as time: divide and conquer. We're constantly bombarded with messages that reinforce this us versus them mentality, whether it's left versus right, liberal versus conservative, or cat people versus dog people. Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get the point. This manufactured division keeps us distracted, angry, and too busy fighting amongst ourselves to notice the real puppet masters pulling the strings behind the scenes. We become so invested in our chosen tribes that we lose sight of the bigger picture, failing to realize that the real battle isn't between left and right. It's between the haves and the have-nots, the powerful and the powerless. In the age of information, truth has become a surprisingly fluid concept. We're bombarded with so much information from so many sources that it's increasingly difficult to separate fact from fiction, reality from carefully constructed narratives. And you know who loves a good information vacuum? Propagandists, political leaders, spin doctors, and anyone with an agenda to push, understand the power of shaping the narrative. They weaponize information, twisting facts, cherry-picking statistics, and disseminating outright lies to manipulate public opinion and advance their own interests. This constant barrage of misinformation creates confusion, erodes trust in legitimate sources of information, and makes it incredibly difficult to have a rational, fact-based conversation about the complex challenges facing our world. We're left feeling cynical, disillusioned, and unsure of what or whom to believe.
So there you have it, folks. The uncomfortable truth is that the illusion of freedom is often just that, an illusion. We're constantly being influenced, manipulated, and controlled by systems that are designed to benefit those in power. But here's the good news. Knowledge is power. By understanding how these systems operate, we can start to see through the matrix of manipulation. We can question the narratives we're being fed, challenge the status quo, and make more informed choices about how we live our lives. The first step to breaking free from any system of control is recognizing that you're in one. So, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, never stop questioning the world around you. These examples highlight how various systems shape our perceptions, choices, and lives while giving the illusion of autonomy and freedom. The key is to remain aware and critically evaluate these systems rather than unquestioningly trust them.